Hello everyone and welcome to AlgoMesh Coons Patch plugin, which is a really nice plugin that generates a surface from 4 input splines. And in our case, those splines do not have to meet at the end, so there can be a gap in between them. To install our plugin, simply grab it from the AlgoMesh Gumroad page. Then go to Create Import Assets, locate your zip file, open, hit OK a couple of times, and what will happen, unless you don't have any of our plugins installed, the new AlgoMesh category will be created and the plugin will be located inside and it will already be pre-selected. The Coons page can be used in 2 flavors, so to speak. So the first one would be, let's switch to nodes here. So the first one would be if you would be using it as a node itself. So let's open this. It's a node graph. So this would be advanced use. So I'm just showing you that you can use it as a node itself. So it works in that context as well. Let's delete this. But far more interesting for users will be the usage as a generator. So you just drag and drop it into viewport or into object manager. Then you will receive this new Coons patch object, which requires 4 input splines. Let's create 4 splines. I will close this asset browser. It's kind of in the way, so maybe we could use, let's see. Let's use a sketch and let's create the 4 splines. So it can be pretty much anything you want. So let's create something like, I don't know, like this. So the splines do not have to meet and we have a blending parameter for that. But of course, if you want, they can meet as well. So let's see, maybe we will just smooth out these splines just a little bit so they're nicer. So something like this. Now, the order of loading the splines is important. So, as you can see, you have a bottom, top, left, right spline. Let's actually make these splines a little bit more visible here. So maybe some prominent color. So we can see them much more. Now, regarding loading splines, what's top, what's bottom, what's left and right, it depends on the orientation. So maybe just for orientation purposes, create a cube, this direction, Z direction. So Z positive, Z plus is actually top. So that means this spline here is the top spline. In the same manner, if you use the negative Z direction, you can deduce that this here will be a bottom spline. Then it's easy to understand what's left and what's right. So let's try to load them in such manner. So let's load the splines into the generator, and given that they're not named, I would suggest that you always use this picker tool. So we said Z, this is the bottom, this is the top. So you're always looking into positive Z direction. And this is, of course, then the left. And again, this is the right one. Now, the result can be not what you expect. And that's because often splines need to be in the reverse direction. So depending on how they were created, they start either on one end or the other end. That's why we are offering this really nice reverse options. So I suspect that these two need to be reversed. And yeah, that's exactly the case. So instead of you manually changing the point order, we have this really nice reverse option, which reverses the spline for the purpose of generation, but leaves the original intact. In terms of parameters, of course, you can define the density of the surface. Let's even reset this to default. And just to make it a little bit more interesting, let's give it a material here. So it's not that plain looking in the viewport. So here Now, if you select any spline, so for example, if you select this, say, bottom spline and you go to point mode, then if you change the surface, if you change the spline, if you change the point position, you will be changing the resulting surface. So it's generating things live, and it works like any other generator in Cinema4D. So you can select another spline, maybe select a different spline point and create, I don't know, a different shape. So shape will always conform the point position itself and to the interpolation that is defined by the tangent itself. Now, what is interesting is that you can use blending. So let's go back to this mode, maybe select this spline, maybe create a little bit more distance between these two. So maybe something like this. So now these two splines, this one and this one here, have their ends quite apart. And now you can favor any of these splines. So this would be this corner blend. So you can see I'm favoring this point on the left spline or the point at the bottom spline. So you can really have a really nice control over your surface. Same goes for other favoring. You see it will favor either one end or the other, and that works as well for other points. It is also worth mentioning that splines do not have to have the same point count at all. So once you create a spline or you manipulate the spline, you can actually add points how you see fit. So it doesn't care about the point count. It simply interpolates given the parameters you have provided. So it can create those car hoods and all the complex surfaces you have in mind. What is also great about it, it is working just as any other generator. So I simply convert it if you want a polygon version of it, and you will get the UV coordinates, of course. And last but not least, let's maybe select this spline. So just to maybe manipulate the surface a little bit. And let me show you that you can delete the points as well. So it will always interpolate. Add here. Now what's also interesting, there is this center lift option with which you can bulge outward or inward, depending on your preference. And you can also use the custom spline here, so the bulge will be generated with the fall off, and you can load custom splines here. So let's just show that. So all the presets from Cinema4D will work. Everything is generated on the fly. It works just as any other generator in Cinema4D. It's fully compatible with the rest of Cinema. You can clone onto it. You can clone it as well. You can do anything that pops to your mind. That is it. Hope you like this plugin and that you will grab it from our AlgoMesh Gumroad page. The link is in the description. Until the next time, have fun.